What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says. We are back once again, back from our little hiatus after the draft to get things rolling once again in Chiefs Kingdom. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by my two usual co-hosts on the top right of the screen. You will see Mr. Kyle Henning. How are we doing tonight, Kyle?
Doing well. Nice to be back with the boys. Waiting for game 6. Nope. Yeah, game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow. Somewhat paying attention to game whatever this is of the NBA Finals. I think it's 5 of the NBA Finals, right?
I think it's 5. Yeah, I think it's 5.
So got that going on. Got all kinds of Chiefs randomness going on over the last few weeks with Patrick's camp, which is the first phase of OTAs, I guess, technically, and then OTAs and a little bit of rookie minicamp and whatever last week was with the voluntary workouts, and now we're about to start mandatory minicamp, I believe tomorrow officially. So good time to get back into the swing of things, get back talking to you guys, and have a little Chiefs discussion.
Yeah. Also joining us, Mr. Thomas Pike. How you doing tonight, Tom?
I realized we don't have our. You are the only one with your social handle in your name.
Yeah.
Gosh, we are rusty, guys.
I can't figure out with this new platform how to get. It just gives. I don't know. I'll figure it
this
out.
new platform that we love.
It's great. I'm just trying to figure out all the stuff that's changed because.
So yeah, no, I'm doing well. Other than realizing that we're a little rusty at this, but that's all right. We're here. We're gonna work out the kinks, and we'll keep rocking and rolling. It's been good. It's hot. It's very hot in life and here and there and but
it's getting hot.
I'm ready, man. It feels like life is just a lot more stressful when I don't have football to fixate on and block out all the troubles in the world.
I agree.
To pull the curtain back a little bit, we had a nice little catch-up sesh before we started recording a sesh that we could not release to the public, the three of us.
No.
So a little bit of history lessons for Garrett and some other ramblings. The world's a stressful place sometimes, but the good news is football is almost here.
Yeah. Football is always
getting closer.
Yeah, we can always count on football to pick us back up. And there's a decent amount. There's a decent amount of stuff football wise, nothing like super relevant because there's still just not real football being played. But pads are back on. Guys are back out there on the field doing some work. We've seen Patrick and the quarterbacks out there. We've seen a lot of the rookies in action in the building and stuff like that. So. Yeah, we're just going to kind of catch up a little bit. Everything we've missed from the past month or so. Do a little bit of draft pick, celebrating and reviewing. And we're just going to have a good time tonight. We're just going to have a good time getting back into the swing of things. We appreciate you all for tuning in and watching and hanging out with us and just being very supportive of us. We were, this past week, it was actually announced that we were the number 9 ranked Chiefs podcast as far as... I don't know how they ranked them, but we were ranked number 9 for Chiefs podcast, which is a big honor. It's a big honor, and it's really cool to get recognized for that. Obviously, we put a lot of time and effort and everything like that into this podcast, so we really appreciate everybody rocking with us.
Because of you guys.
Yeah.
When I say you guys, I'm talking about the listeners, but I'm also talking about the other 2 guys on the show with me because without both of you, there's no way that this runs the way it does and the way that it's been. But for all the people that check in with us, watch us, listen to us, interact with the shows when we do our lives on Fridays, which we will be doing more and more of as we get rolling back into this. We will open that up. We'll have lives. We'll probably do some Q&A stuff this year with you guys, let you guys, ask questions. Also, on Fridays, you can always just throw things in the chat, and we will likely talk about them if it's something that we can talk about on the podcast. Some of you guys throw some stuff in there that we can't really touch, but if we can touch on it, we will. And it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing this for several years now. When Garrett and I started this, back in 2020-ish.
Yeah,
got to be right around then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of us ever thought 5 years later we'd still be doing this. but also it being where it is now, and for us to be ranked ninth with some of the podcasts that we're ranked around. Our friends over at Chiefs Concerns are at 6. Obviously, Arrowhead Pride and KCSN, the guys over there at 1 and 2, and all that good stuff. And it's nice to be a part of this community we've talked about for years, where there's a spot for everybody in the Chiefs community. You just got to find where you're at, and it's been nice to be a part of it. It's been great, and we want to continue to be more of a part of it. The more we get to more people, the more we can help bring everybody in this stuff together, and it's just fun because this is, as we've talked about a billion times, the gold. You're not going to get better Chiefs era than this. Maybe ever at this point. What this last 8, 9, 10 years has been. You're not going to find it again. For somebody that's been a fan and been around it for now 30 plus years, and a lot of heartbreak and frustration and other things for the 20 years prior, it doesn't get a lot better than this. So thank you to everybody who rocks with us, who shares our stuff on socials, who interacts with the shows, who is a part of the contests and helps out with our friends, Corey over at the Artist Chief, and gets involved with his stuff, and everybody else that supports us, all our guests that come on, Jason Dunn, Mr. Briscoe has been on multiple times, our guy Charles Goldman over at A to Z Sports. Without all those folks, we wouldn't be able to do what we do and where we're at. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah, no, big shout out. It's been awesome, especially when I started with you guys. I was still living in Illinois. I've moved out here, and I had friends before I even was a resident out here, and having guys to run into, hang out with, getting to meet people as I've been out here, and gosh, I mean, in our little break time, the Artist Chief Corey and I went and saw a Royals game, my first Royals game. It's brought me some of my favorite friendships, including you guys. So, I don't think we had to get sentimental at the top of the show on our list, but here we are doing it. We missed you guys. We're glad to be back. And I will tell you, one of us isn't wearing pants, and if you,
the answer to that, we appreciate
if you've been around,
we want you to guess it in the comments. We'll let you know next week if you got it right.
Yeah.
But make sure we always throw it out there. Those interactions mean everything. Like, subscribe, comment. Every podcast begs you to do it. I hear you. It's annoying.
But it really does help.
It does help. We don't do this to be ranked number 9 or number 1 or number 1,000, right? We've done this because it's what we love doing. So we've got a great friendship between the three of us, and because honestly, all three of us probably talk more than we should sometimes, but we've got strong opinions, and we're blessed to do it. But help us get involved with more people who like to talk about the Chiefs as much as we like to talk about the Chiefs, and as much as you guys like to hear about the Chiefs. So share the good news, and again, thanks for being here with us. Garrett, what do we actually have on the official docket today?
On the docket, yeah. So, we're diving into the 2025 season. You could maybe call this the first kind of intro to the 2025 season. We've got real football going on. Well, not real football. We've got football being played. Balls are in the air. Catches are being made.
No pads. No
pads, but, there's activity, So we've got a lot. Yeah. We've got some contract situations we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the position groups that have had some notable turnover and new faces and new additions and all that good stuff. There have been some retirements that we'll get into. Maybe we'll lead with that as a first, kind of an easy thing. During our little breakaway, Mr. Dustin Colquitt, who is the greatest punter in Chiefs history easily, officially retired, signed a one-day contract with the team, and retired as a Kansas City Chief, which was a really cool moment. It was really nice to get a little, Dustin Colquitt kind of, retirement party.
That.
Yeah, he was. If you don't know,
he was the only reason to watch football.
One
for
of if not
years.
The best player on the Chiefs for a very long time. Dude was with us for 20 some years or something like that.
All of Todd Haley and Romeo Cornell. That's all you have.
He suffered. He
survived all of that.
Yeah.
That man's leg has some miles on it.
yeah. He had to do a good amount of punting back in the day, and so it was really cool to see him get back in the building. They kind of celebrated him a lot, gave him a custom Colt Quitter jersey, which was kind of funny, and all that stuff. So it was really cool to see Dustin back in the building, get to celebrate him, and just reminisce on what an awesome player, but also an awesome dude that he was. That famous mic'd up of him came out. They released him where he's sitting on the sidelines and he's, it's like a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and long or something. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to punt. And then just a big play happens with Mahomes. He's like, oh my God, I thought for sure I was going to punt. This is crazy. So it was cool to see that, after all those hardships that, he did get rewarded with that Super Bowl championship and getting to play with Mahomes and all that stuff. So yeah, that was a cool moment to celebrate Dustin Colquitt, who is easily just one of the best Chiefs of all time. I mean, he'll go down in the record books he'll be in the Ring of Honor one day for sure. And
yeah, I don't know how they could keep him out of the ring.
Yeah. So that was a cool moment to see Dustin get that praise. So that was a big retirement. That was kind of a ceremonious retirement, if you will. The actual retirement, Mr. Andy Hill, who was the assistant special teams coach, called it a good career, which was
30-something years, 33, 35, something like that.
Yeah, he'd been around for a while. He'd been doing a lot. He'd been with the team for past couple seasons now as the assistant special teams coach to Dave Tobe, which is a big position, especially with Dave Tobe being the assistant head coach. So there's more on his plate in that sense. So Chief special team unit has been really solid the past few years. So definitely will miss Mr. Andy Hill, but there was also a replacement, Kyle, in that same position.
Yes, there was. So he's been with Kansas City from 2020 to 2024. Okay, it was Andy Hill's tenure. I want to say he had 30 plus years in the league overall as a coach of some variety or another. But a guy who, if you've been around the last several years, especially on the social media teams portion of it, Porter Ellett is the new assistant for Dave Tobe. Speaking of grade A plus human beings, if you don't know Porter's story, there's a couple of places that have done features on him, I believe now. Go check out that. Also, his wife is an excellent follow on her socials. She shares content all the time for that. But he's been an instrumental part of the Chiefs organization for a long time. Patrick Mahomes and him have worked together over a few seasons as he was doing stuff with the quarterback side of things and the offense. But Porter's a guy who's worked his way all the way up from pretty much doing whatever it took to be a part of the staff, and his story is an incredible one. So happy for him to be getting that next bump to another role and a more prominent role, and getting to spend time with Dave Tobe, who is largely considered around the league one of the best special teams coaches to ever do it. Can't be a bad thing. And I just hope to see more and more success for Porter as he continues his journey through the coaching ranks in the NFL. So, guy that could probably be a head coach one day, if all continues to go on the progress that it is taking currently. So, because he's still a pretty young dude too.
Oh yeah, he's very young. Yeah, he's super bright young mind. It'll be interesting to see if there's any new wrinkles. If he gets Dave Tobe to make some smarter decisions as far as the returners. We'll see. We'll see what the changes are.
I don't think there's going to be as much consternation about the returners this year. Bold prediction, but I think Nico's probably your guy for this year.
Well, hopefully, yeah, I would like to see it because that would secure him a spot. But there's a lot of competition in that room this year, especially
there is
Dave Tobe's comments that they said they wanted to use Xavier Worthy in the punt return role last year, and then. And Dave Tobin went as far as saying that Xavier Worthy might be secretly the best punt returner that he's at least.
That's
in the room,
great. If they're going to use him in that role, it's going to be more like they did with Tyreek towards the end of his special teams days, where it was, hey, we need a big play, go get that ball. I don't think you're going to see much of one of your top 2 or 3 wide receivers doing a whole lot of punt and kick return this year. I hope we're not. Anyway, I hope we're not.
Yeah,
leave that up to Nico or Jalen Royals, who I'm sure we'll talk plenty about as we go forward in this show and all moving forward this season.
A bit to talk about Jalen
Brashard, can Brashard Smith catch a punt? I bet he probably can.
I was going to say, Rashard Smith might be a sneaky one to consider back there. So, yeah, I think they'll have some options. I think they'll not have Worthy back there or Sky
But yeah,
Moore.
shout out Porter. That's what I was wrapping up with there for
But
me
yes.
anyway.
Yeah, we've got some options.
Yeah. I think that'll be one of the big things to monitor during camp is see who kind of emerges in that role. I think Nico still is going to be the best option for you, but we'll see. So let's a couple other things. Let's transition to some contract situations that have been popping off. Notably, there is still a unsigned draft pick from this recent class. Mr. Omar Norman Lott is still unsigned. Per reports, it's because there's a kind of a trend happening with second round picks that they're trying to break the mold of. There's been a couple second round picks this year. I believe the Texans wide receiver they drafted. Forget which one they drafted two. It was either Jalen Noel or the other one. Man, it's only been a month and I've already forgotten like all draft pick names.
No, they drafted both the Iowa State kids.
Jaden Higgins?
Yeah.
Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
And he is the first second round pick in NFL history to have his contract.
Fully guaranteed was the contract. I think also Browns linebacker Carson Schweschinger also got a fully guaranteed contract. So a little bit of a trend that these second round picks are trying to make a thing is to make fully guaranteed contracts for the second round picks, which is usually something that's only ever happened for first rounders, which is becoming pretty prominent now for first rounders, and now it's starting to bleed into the second round talk. So.
And if you're the Bengals, you're trying to reverse that trend and be able to take their money away even if they are a first round pick. If they don't,
if you're the Bengals, you're just having.
Well, even a guaranteed contract oftentimes has that. I think it's as a fan, it's easy to get frustrated. Go, just sign the contract, get in there, rookie, whatever. Taking a step back to go, hey, some of these guys, this rookie contract's the only contract they're going to get.
And they probably shouldn't let teams try to take money back from them if they don't like their guaranteed workout. Yeah, that seems like a problem.
Yeah, I think, and I think the NFL as a whole, it'll be interesting to see what the next CBA discussions look like because, I might have just said the NBA. The NBA has fully guaranteed contracts. The NFL does not, and I think sometimes we see these really big inflated numbers with NFL contracts, but it's like, we've talked about it before. It's what is the real number here? What is the guaranteed number, right?
Yeah.
And so
we talk about it all the time when it comes to these bigger, especially to the bigger deals.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw some players pushing for more guaranteed money. It just makes sense. But I think the concession there will be kind of probably some lower overall amounts, at least for the rookie numbers. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out. But I'm all for these guys are. I mean, if you're not familiar with some of the stories of especially the older NFL players and what their bodies have gone through, yes, they make a lot of money playing a game. Yes, there's conversation about that. I get that, but it's a lot of money, and you're done at 35, 30.
That's if you're lucky.
Sooner, that money's going to go a long way. And if you're a undrafted free agent, late round draft pick, it feels like a lot of money for us to go. Yeah, you get $1 million or $500,000, whatever, but that $1 million to last you the rest of your life, right? Like, so I don't know. I'm all for it being a more equitable, more security for the players. But yeah, it'll be an interesting thing, especially Omar Norman Lott, who of our draft class probably needs the reps the most because he, was kind of in that weird Tennessee system where they just kind of threw guys out there seemingly by spinning a wheel to decide who was going to be in on that formation. So not as many snaps as some of the other players. Definitely want to see him get those reps in. So hopefully it gets resolved soon.
He has been participating in stuff.
Yeah, unlike
so
Shamar
he's
Stewart,
not.
yeah.
He's not. He didn't go home like Shamar did.
Yeah, he was just in the locker room all day. Like he has been out there participating in some drills, and he's been getting some work. And obviously, it's getting in the building in itself is still just a big thing. You can get a lot of mental reps in there, like Shamar was doing. But yeah, at least Norman Lott has been doing some things, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes forward. Especially just how the contract gets resolved. The Chiefs and Brett Veach, they're not like the most forward thinking as far as that type of stuff. But I mean, I feel like it's something that you can I feel like you can compromise on
I
that
don't know
stuff
if I
pretty
wouldn't
easily.
say they're not forward thinking,
Yeah,
because
there's a little
we've
bit
seen them
different, I
do some
guess. Yeah,
extraordinarily different. Like,
they have done some.
they're the
Yeah,
ones that created the Patrick deal where he's able to do
guarantee
all.
mechanisms. Yeah,
So, and there's been some others that they've done some stuff with. Now they don't Eagles it where they have
yeah,
$700 million in void year contracts
yeah,
sitting
or
out
even
there for
come
the
close
next
to that. I mean,
half decade.
they don't
They
even
don't have
step
hardly
back.
any, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
So that's one thing that I wish they would probably use a little more, since the rest of the league is using it. But at the same time, it also can make you the Saints, where you're $75 million in cap
yeah,
hell because you've
exactly.
got guys that haven't played for you in 7 years getting paid $10 million of your cap space. So it's there's pluses and minuses. I'm not as worried about the rookie stuff. I'm not really worried about the next contract I'm sure we're getting ready to talk about either, because
No, yeah,
he's already signed the tag. So at minimum, you've still got him for this year. But it is what it is. The Chiefs one with the rookie is more about him trying to help his family, I think, which was the way Tom put it, was well put. With getting a little more of that rest of that contract guaranteed instead of having some non-guarantees in that, usually that final year of the rookie deal, for the second rounders. Shamar Stewart's is a little different. They're
because he's a
they're
Chiefs fan,
trying to
man. It's
do
just
some
because he's a Chiefs
things.
fan. That's the reason. He won't sign the
Jesus
contract because
Christ.
he's a Chiefs fan.
The fact that that guy is still getting runtime on social media blows my mind. I don't know if I've discussed that on here or not, but I cannot fathom why anyone gives that dude oxygen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he's one of the worst on that app, and that's saying something for that app in some instances. So,
An
uh,
impressive, but
Yeah, we had a
not
big
not in a good way.
yeah.
not a good thing. But
Yeah.
I understand, like Tom said, I understand these guys. It's a business. At the end of the day, this is still a business, and you got to do what's best for you in business. At the end of the day, if you don't, then you're gonna get run over. That's just the way it is in the business world.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect. I'm sure that he would like to have the contract signed. He being all Norman Lott, I'm sure Brett and them would like to have the contract done. But at the same time, he's participating. He's doing stuff. I don't think they're terribly worried. I don't think he's
Yeah. I
terribly
think that's gonna
worried.
be a fine one.
It'll be resolved.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any big issues. And like Kyle alluded to, the other major contract situation that's still lurking is Trey Smith, who Andy Reid came out and said that he's not sure if Trey Smith will show up to mandatory minicamp or not. Not really too worried. He didn't seem too worried if he does or not. I mean, Trey's very established. He knows what's going on. He's rock solid. We don't got to really worry about Trey. He'll always be very ready and up to the task. But that's just another looming contract situation. Like Kyle said, he did sign the tag, so he's still he's at least locked in for this year. But theoretically,
Yeah,
you'd want that to get done. And
yeah, you want it done, especially
from
when you
some
trade Tooney.
reports, it seems like it's. I bet it gets done before the season, maybe even before training.
Well, they have the deadline. They have the July 15th is the deadline for the
Right.
tag,
Yeah. So there's.
for to
I
have
feel
a
like there's a
to have a
pretty
long
decent
term deal worked
chance.
out before that. So
Yeah. I feel like there's a
I
pretty
don't.
decent chance.
He was at Chiefs media stuff today. Like, the not when I say media, I don't mean like doing interviews. I mean like
The
taking
media day.
pictures
Yeah,
and
the media day where they
doing
do all
doing
the
all the team, all
gifts
that
and social
headshots and
posts
all
and
that
stuff.
crap.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's already signed the tag. We'll see if he participates tomorrow. We'll see if he's a hold in or a hold out. I don't I don't think it matters. I really
No.
don't. The right side of the offensive line is not the part I'm concerned about or interested to see how things go. It's the left side, and all those dudes are under contract. So they'll all be there. They'll all be ready to go. We'll see where we're headed there.
Yeah. I think it'll be something they work out. I mean, I think the Chiefs made the moves they did this offseason to keep those two pieces, create and trade together on that offensive line. it would be. I think it would be pretty shocking for something not to get done. But also, I think that they're keeping things pretty amicable, and sounds like they're working on it. So
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned as some other holdouts and stuff. But we also know that one of Veach's strengths is that he's creative and he's patient. Sometimes he'll fault negotiations. You know.
I don't know what happened to your mic, but we can't hear you.
Oh no! Can we
There
hear
it
me
goes.
now? There I
Yeah,
am.
you like
Yeah.
it got real mumbly for a second. I don't know
It
what
just
that
does
was.
that sometimes. Yeah, it just kind of like it's almost like you just randomly buffer or something, and then it just.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Maybe should I just get real close? I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah, but he's shown that he can be plenty patient. Again, looking at the Chris Jones deals, negotiations, but yeah, I think we'll get done. That offensive line needs Trey and Creed pretty heavily with the changes up front. So that'll be
Another
big.
thing to keep in mind is with the Trey stuff is one, he doesn't have the Wish.com agents representing him. We'll start there. That Chris Jones had representing
What agent
him,
does he
which
have?
not those two bumbling idiots. So that's a bonus. And then the other part is you mentioned Creed. Those two present endorsement opportunities for one another with their stepbrothers ish relationship. So that will help him also in some instances. Look, man. He's gonna get money. He's gonna get lots of money.
Mhm.
They didn't trade Joe Tooney thinking they weren't gonna get him signed. So I would not be in any kind of panic mode. Like I said, they still have a month basically from the time that we're recording this to get a deal done before the deadline of the tag stuff is considered. Deadlines make deals. I would not expect him to really hold out either because he's already signed the tag. So that allows him to be fined, which if he hadn't signed the tag, he wouldn't necessarily be subject to some of those fines, I don't think, if I understood that whole scenario correctly. There's a bunch of weird loopholes and things with the tag that are odd. So, but it's not a glowing concern for me. So
I can't find out who his agent is, but I think he'll be fine. Brett Veach talked before the draft that they were going to wait until after the draft to really finalize that
even
whole
start
situation.
hammering that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in due time. We'll knock that out, and then there'll probably be a couple other extensions along the way throughout the rest of the season that hopefully happen. McDuffie, Karloftis, maybe. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how the contracts go. But that's the two current ones as we head into mandatory workouts. I guess today we're recording this on Monday, so Tuesday will
Yep,
be the
it'll be Tuesday.
first day. So that would be interesting. A couple other, I guess, positions to look at when we go into mandatory workouts. Along the offensive line, there's still some. There's been more, I guess, kind of development news. It's been basically confirmed that Kingsley Suamataia is going to be competing for the left guard. It's really his position to lose. It seems like he came out and kind of talked about the position a little bit. Talked about how it's kind of reinvigorated his love for football, getting to play a new position like guard and just kind of learning new ropes and stuff like that. So be interesting to see how he continues to adapt, and he'll have a really big, be a big mini camp OTAs and then training camp for him because that's we're betting a lot. We're betting a lot on the development of him at left guard replacing Joe Tooney.
I've talked ad nauseum about how I don't love what they did to him last year, but his response, the way he's handled everything, the way he's approached this year, the way he's talked, professional. And that's really hard to find in a second year guy who went through all of the things he went through last year. So if he can get the mental side, I don't have any questions about his physical stuff. He's a big, strong human. And if you're going to make any criticisms of last year at tackle, he struggled a little in space. Well, fun fact, there's not a whole lot of that when you're playing guard. So I don't anticipate him having as many struggles at guard as he did at tackle. And because of the way they approached the left tackle position in the offseason, they pushed him into guard without really any other option. It's not. I mean, you have a guy you went out and paid come out of San Francisco, to be your floor, and then you went and you took a little bit of a risk, and I only say risk due to the health, not due to his talent level, at that first round pick in Josh Simmons, and that's your ceiling, I think, is how they view this and how they're planning on attacking this. And if that's how they wanted to approach it, it makes sense. And from everything we've heard from Andy Reid about Josh Simmons and his offseason progress and the stuff they're seeing, I that's going to make that left side stronger potentially than it even was. Well, definitely than it was last year, because it was basically Joe Tooney over there going, I got to block everybody over here, right? Okay, I got it.
Yep, I got this half of the line, I guess. I they're putting a lot of faith, a lot of confidence, like in that transition for Kingsley. Whatever concerns you have about him as a player on the field, I think he's shown like he's taken to it. Even last year, I mean, starting kind of training at that left guard position, I don't think it went the way anybody planned to, but I think it is just a different speed in the NFL, and Kingsley is not a slack, a slouch, athletically by any means, but it is a different speed, and so putting him in a position where he can use his strengths and the thing that I will acknowledge, because I was high on him as a tackle, and obviously I don't do this professionally, just take my shots in the dark from time to time, but I respect the fact that they were willing to pivot quickly, but also come up with a plan to make him successful, make him part of this team, right? So you're not wasting that draft pick. You're not giving up on the player, small sample size, but, getting to a place where they have a role for him. And even in that role being pretty vital in keeping the rest of it, that gives you, from left tackle to right guard, 3 guys on, locked up for several years. Obviously, right tackle will work out however it works out, but gives you a lot of youth there. Also gives you some size and some power. So it's a little different. And again, I'm excited because the physical traits are there. It's just a matter of learning that, working through communication, learning the position, learning some of those nuances and kind of that positioning at the left guard spot. But I think he's got all the tools to make it work. And like the line's going to look a lot different, but they seem to have a lot of confidence in him. In fact, they were talking about when they were looking at making a change in the Super Bowl, it was, they were looking at moving, putting Kingsley out there at left guard and not moving Tooney back. Like, it was, they feel like that's a spot for him, and we'll see how that works out. But I think it makes sense.
Okay, so he's a good athlete as a tackle, right? He was a good athlete. He wasn't an elite athlete as a tackle. He wasn't anything. But switching into guard changes those measurements a little bit when you look at that, and I think he becomes a more elite labeled athlete as a guard than he was as a tackle. They're going to be able to use him to pull and to get out in space with from the guard position, which Andy loves to use those guards like that. I mean, how many highlights of Trey Smith killing some poor cornerback or safety 7 yards downfield in open space? Like, they do that. So making that adjustment may help him even more when it comes to the athlete side of everything. Mm-hmm. It changes the math a little bit on that front, and when you do that, you like Tom said, you let him use some of his strengths a little more in that area. Like I said, I was not a fan of anything that happened last year, but their approach after making the transition and how they decided to kind of push it down the stretch and what they were going to look to from him this year, they've committed to that the correct way, and that's good news for the Chiefs and for Kingsley. So
yeah, should be very interesting just to see how the overall Chiefs offensive line looks like. On paper, I don't know if it's necessarily improved on paper. You lose Hall of Famer Joe Tooney. You get a much bigger upgrade at left tackle, though, as opposed to a kind of a downgrade at guard. So on paper, it's kind of a questionable. Obviously, there's just a lot of hope and a lot of faith that they'll continue their development, and Josh Simmons will end up being healthy and hopefully playing a more majority of the season. I think would be the ideal situation if he's healthy and if he's looking good. And then obviously you have Kingsley and Mike Caliendo who are battling for that left guard spot. It's very interesting that they didn't bring. I mean, it's honestly a testament to how they feel about Kingsley, but they didn't bring in like a veteran guard or anything like that to really compete for that guard spot with them. They kind of just stuck with the in-house options, and it's a little scary to think that they'd be fine if Mike Caliendo won the job, but I think they just are supremely confident that Kingsley is going to work out really well in that role and be a big part of that offensive line, which is kind of how this offense runs. It's how many offenses run. I mean, it's the battles are won in the trenches. You need to have a good offensive line. Obviously, the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and they've had that for the past long time. The Eagles have always had really, really good offensive lines. So Chiefs, obviously not bad offensively or offensive line wise, but that was the kicker last year that got us. So that's obviously the biggest point of emphasis for us going into this year, along with just the overall offense and the passing game, which we're getting Rashee Rice back. We got Hollywood Brown there for a full season. We got Xavier Worthy, another year of work and progress and just all that good stuff. And then you have Jalen Royals, who is the kind of the dark horse candidate to be a really productive guy this season. Tom, I know you're pretty high on Jalen Royals and what his potential could be, especially, considering who knows how far along Rashee Rice is back in his total recovery, if he'll be limited during the regular season because of that or just because of the suspension thing. So, we might end up seeing a lot more Jalen Royals along early.
Yeah. So I think he is going to be it's funny because going into the draft there's Matt Harmon who does the reception perception kind of breakdown and really, really good stuff for understanding routes run, guards getting aimed after the catch, all that stuff. And he talked about when Rashee Rice was a prospect, he wasn't a big fan of him because he was used kind of very limitedly at SMU. And it was, like I said, it's great because as we're going to the draft, like they're talking about Jalen Royals and they like literally comped him, and he's very similar in size. But I was watching some of the plays before. He's going to learn and grow as a receiver and as a route runner. We'll see. I think he adjusts downfield better than what he got a chance to show at Utah State. But get the ball in his hand and watch him just make a guy or two miss and just pick up those extra 2 or 3 yards every play. And so I think when you have to account for Travis and Worthy and Hollywood and Rashee and Noah Gray, and then you sprinkle in some Royals, like I think that there's going to be some opportunities for him to get some pretty big splash plays just based on his skill set. And again, he's going to need a little bit of time to develop, but I think if you make him your plan for, when Hollywood potentially leaves after this year, he's on a 1-year contract again. I think that you can be pretty optimistic about that. So, trying to keep expectations realistic, but also it's another body in a room that we saw them get really thin at last year. After a couple of injuries, and they didn't really have, Xavier was doing a lot of work, Travis was doing a lot of work, Noah Gray came in, but they really struggled with having another guy, kind of a chain mover on the perimeter. So I think that's what Royals gives you if he's forced into a position like that, But yeah, I'm excited for him. I think he's got a lot of upside, and that there seems to be a blueprint for how to make this work. So,
and he's a guy that we didn't think we would have a shot at after we got past a couple of the picks that we got past in the earlier parts of the draft. It's another one of those, for me, it's another one of those Jaden Hicks situations from last year where there's a guy that probably should have gone in the second or the early third round, and he goes considerably later than that, a round or two later. And it's another candidate for one of those guys of how did the Chiefs end up with that guy? How did they let him get that guy? There's been a few of those over the last couple of years, and he fits that mold. He does a lot of the things well that they like their receivers to do well. He's not going to be a traditional any position at which pick your letter for whatever wide receiver position you want to call out, but he's going to give you a lot of versatility. Tom mentioned the injury gauntlet they went through at the wide receiver position last year with Rasheed and Hollywood and just all the things that happened. Heck, they even lost some of the backups at different points with injuries that they had brought in for those purposes. So more weapons is never a bad thing. And you add all that together, and then you look at some of the other stuff that they're talking about. There was a report from, I believe, Jeremy Fowler talking about Travis Kelce and his updated playing weight situation, and he's down like 20 pounds or something, 15 or 20 pounds. He's going to be playing a lot lighter this year than he did last year. That's not a bad thing, guys. I don't think that's a bad news.
No, I think
as an older player, that's a good thing. So there's still plenty of bang for the buck in this offense, and if they get even a semblance of it rolling, they could be very dangerous, very fast with all of the weaponry that they have, and Jalen Royals could be a part of it. So that's good news when you're looking at where they got him and how they went about it. So
yeah, I think that's going to be a huge part of the offense, just looking much better this year, is having, better O-line options, better receiver options. It was a tough year last year offensively. So many injuries, so much adversity that I had to go through. Hopefully to get to a much more, comfortable position this year. You can kind of use your training camp game plan that you have and you prepared all season for, and you can really, prolong that through a full season and really get some offensive productivity. So you're not really just relying on the defense all the time, which, hey, the defense is still going to be good,
I don't think we really understand how much they drugged themselves to that Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable when you look.
Drug.
The contributors on offense who are the main, like Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins were some of our main.
That's one of the years where you go, we weren't supposed to get to the Super Bowl that year. Yeah. Of all of the years that they've gone and all of over these last several, in order to get the number of rings that we talk about, like how the Patriots did and how even the Chiefs have done to this point, you have to steal somebody's ring once in a while. And they didn't steal the ring last year, but they stole an appearance.
Yeah, they got damn
close. They took a chance from one of the other AFC contending teams to get a shot at a ring, and they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
When you genuinely go back and look at everything that they went through, that they were dealing with, that they had on the roster at that point, that was an attrition Super Bowl appearance, and it eventually cost them. They walked into a buzzsaw in Philly, and Philly did what they needed to do. Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen sometimes when you make that many Super Bowls. You're occasionally going to get popped. Brady and them didn't win them all. So there's a lot to be said about what the resiliency that they showed last year, but this team, at least right now on paper, feels like they've got a lot more depth, I think, than they did last year at points. And while the rookies contribute to that, so does a lot of the veterans that were banged up and weren't able to play and are now back. So it's a lot more positive outlook for me. I mean, even entering camp last year, we were like, yeah, they're good. I just don't know how deep they are, and that became a problem really fast when we started having injuries.
Pretty fast problem, yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of signs that are positive for this Chiefs offense and how it'll look, just how it'll look this year, and yeah, that's kind of the big thing, yeah. So, okay, I think we've pretty much covered a lot of the bases that we wanted to cover. One last thing we should touch on, Steve Spagnuolo's New Heights appearance.
Oh God, please go watch that.
If you haven't seen that, which I believe Mr. Tom has not seen that yet. Tom, you gotta go watch that. I'm telling you, it is one of the better podcast appearances that you'll see of any kind of coach make, really. But it's a really good time. Obviously, just the familiarity with Travis and Jason, and just how awesome Spags is. I mean, yeah, if you don't fully appreciate how awesome Spags is, just go watch that interview and see how much he's loved, how knowledgeable he is. Like, it was so interesting to hear just some of the little tidbits that he gave away on that. I know he didn't give away big things, but just little things, some of like the gap things that like linebackers look at, and just different things offenses do that disrupt. It was very interesting conversation. There wasn't a lot of fluff. It really just, they kind of got down into the gritty stuff and really.
And listening to Jason talk about, what that does, what some of those little things that Steve was talking about does to an offense.
Yeah.
Because guess who's going to know? Jason's going to know. Steve did it to him several times.
Yeah.
Whether he was in New York or in St. Louis or with Kansas City.
Bold a couple years ago. Yeah.
There was a lot of really good things. Also, if you don't know this already, you will immediately figure out Spags is an extremely humble and an extremely grounded human who loves the sport, but mostly loves teaching. Talked about his mom and her teaching background, especially in the special education
pretty cool.
Area, and how that kind of fueled his love for teaching the game and teaching people. And it's a common theme amongst the Andy's coaching staff. I think you hear it from Andy, you hear it from others. If they weren't coaching football, they'd be teaching, is what a lot of them sound like. And that's kind of rare in a lot of instances when it comes to the coaching field. So it's really awesome to see, but also his respect for Andy the whole interview was fantastic. Also, he is as Italian as it gets.
Very Italian.
There are some glaring signs. If you're Italian, you will know I have a fair chunk of that in my heritage. A lot of talking with the hands. A lot of if you're a person that has some hearing issues and you might not necessarily have, and he does not doing technical sign language, but you can get the gist of the conversation just by watching him talk. So it was an excellent interview. It was a really cool look into the background of kind of how that building seems to operate. Even when you're not in it, you can kind of get the vibes from how everybody interacts when you watch Travis and him kind of with the conversations and so on. So it was really fun. It was really cool. They're getting ready for Brazil on Friday night to open the year. So it'll be, we're getting ready to get tuned back up. They're going to do camp, then they'll take a few weeks off, or they're going to do mandatory minicamp. Then they're going to take a few weeks off, and then it's going to be training camp before we know it.
St. Joe time. Yeah. So there's a lot to look forward to. A lot to look forward to these next couple weeks before we get real football going. Just gotta keep on weathering the storm. Keep on enjoying the little bits of content that we get, and just appreciate the time that we will have to eventually work up and get some real fun stuff to talk about, and fun football stuff and all that stuff. So that being said, that'll about wrap it up for tonight. Once again, we appreciate everyone for tuning in and rocking with us all the time. We've got a lot of good stuff planned for this season. 2025 should be a really fun season for us. We're definitely going to all get out to a game, at least one game this year we'll all get out to, and maybe even have a little like meetup or something. That'd be kind of cool to have another little meetup or something, or
maybe figure out something with that. Maybe throw some giveaways, see if we can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always got good giveaways on the horizon. We're gonna have a lot of cool guests on this season. We're just
also, I know I've been promising you guys a merch store for like a year and a half. We will have a merch store in 2025.
You will eventually get,
even if it's just me on the side of the road with some hand.
Yeah. Even if I gotta make them on a Cricut and do them ourselves, we will come up with a merch store for you guys so we can
draw some sticky notes and iron it to a shirt. I will do it.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be some good stuff. Just make a shirt that says, "This is my Kingdom Says shirt," like Creed, Just like
This is my shirt for the Kingdom Says podcast.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. No one steal that, all right? No one steal that. We're patenting that right now, I'm telling you.
Yeah, don't steal it. We've got lots of good ideas. Great ideas.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great ideas. So many great ideas. So many.
Big ideas.
All right.
Beautiful ideas.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's get on out of here. Appreciate you all tuning in and watching. Be sure to check us out: YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at. Follow us at Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever, every social will probably be there. And we'll see you guys next week sometime. Next week, we'll see you. We'll catch back up. We'll get back to doing some live Fridays soon and 2 episodes a week and all that good stuff. So, have a great rest of your weeks, and we'll see you guys on the next